most contemporary show about what's actually happening. Marketing is going through one of its biggest transformations ever, where this thing controls the game. And there's so many things we pay attention to, but we get to talk to the brightest and best minds in marketing on marketing.
Hi, Gary.
Hey, Avery, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I am salty this Monday morning after the devastating loss, but I'm going to be.
Hopefully this is going to get you in a better mood. Gary, is it fair to say Halloween is one of your favorite holidays?
Yes, I'm a fan.
I feel like you're a big fan. You're known for your iconic Happy Halloween texts, inside joke for all those at Vayner. And you know, we love a good festive, relevant campaign at Vayner. So I'm really excited for today's Marketing for the Now. We're actually going to be covering some of the best Halloween spots, best Halloween campaigns and activations from a bunch of our different brand friends. The first guest we have up here today is David from Opendoor. David is an iconic marketer who has, led many different teams and initiatives. Most recently is the Chief Marketing Officer at Opendoor. So you're going to host him here a little bit, talk about some of the work that we're doing together, talk about the new spot featuring a vampire, and I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Sounds good. Let's get him up here. My man.
Hey, Gary, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
I'm well. Before we get going, let me just thank some of the people that are in the chat. Dante, good to see you. Heath, good to see you. Jackie, good to see you. Jackie Blaze, your partner in crime. David, for the few that are watching right now across YouTube and the other channels, why don't you give a little 1-minute background on you and Opendoor, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me start with Opendoor. Opendoor is a simple, certain, and fast way to sell your home. So essentially, used to take months of hassle, stress, and staging to sell a home. And with us, you essentially put your address into our site and you get an offer in minutes and you can sell in a matter of days. It's as simple as that. As far as me, I have a background at creative agencies and moved to Opendoor about 3 years ago to take on the CMO role. So having a lot of fun over here and bringing a lot of the agency skill set and way of working into the marketing role. So get to work with a lot of great friends and a lot of great skills from the prior life. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Very cool. What do you think has been the biggest surprise for customers who've used Opendoor? And what do you think is the biggest misconception or not understanding just yet from the customers that have not played with this incredible platform?
The biggest surprise that kind of related is there's almost it's too good to be true. Right. So there's like an apprehension of like, what's the catch? And then when they use it, our NPS scores are huge. They're off the charts. So when people use Opendoor, they tell their friends about it because it is as easy as we promise. And they're very happy with the result. So that's kind of that's what we're working with. So a lot of the number one reason people don't use Opendoor is because they haven't heard of Opendoor. So it's really for us at this stage, where I would say we're kind of ascending to be an iconic brand. So it's really about driving awareness. The more awareness, the more consideration, the more conversion, and that's it. The more people that convert with us, the more they tell their friends about the experience, and that's good for us.
Everybody who's watching on YouTube and LinkedIn, we see you. Rebecca Stewart, we see you. Helmut Franco, we see you. Please leave your comments and questions and add your 2 cents so we can get the vibes going. David, talk to me about the vampire campaign. I know there's been a lot of buzz. I literally had 3 or 4 people in the office, like when I'm going to a meeting or a laboratory, they're like, hey, did you see the Opendoor vampire thing? So like clearly a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I love about the vampire campaign, like credit to the Vayner team is, so we put about 100 pieces of content a month with the Vayner crew. And using social as an insights machine coming back. One of the pieces of content we've been putting out is this idea called Reasons to Move. And it was like small little snippets of like silly reasons people will move, which is one is, you see a spider in the bathroom, reasons to move. You see your neighbor mows the lawn every Saturday morning. It's irritating, reasons to move. Well, we were seeing that bubbling up, high engagement, right? So that was like, okay, this is an interesting creative idea. People are liking it. So putting the two together is, from a business perspective, we were realizing with Opendoor, we can actually remove seasonality in real estate, because most people sell their house during spring, summer, because you need to stage it and it looks better, and people need to tour homes in spring, summer. With Opendoor, you can sell directly to us. So fall and winter, that seasonality goes away. So taking that business insight with that creative insight and putting the two together was how Vampire came to be, which is we created the reason to move, which was this vampire is very happy living in her home in the dark. She looks out of the window and her grandma neighbor, who's a gardener, has decided she's going to garden for garlic. And the vampire decides that's her reason to move. So whatever the reason, whatever the season, she decides to move. We've also got a holiday version, which is coming out in December, which I think Vampire is great. I actually think the holiday version is even better. So you'll have to look out for that.
Knowing there's a lot of marketers, CEOs, CMOs listening, people growing in marketing, small business marketers, and then obviously a lot of Fortune 500 marketers. As we kind of, it's October 28th as we're filming this. So we're really, we're getting to the end of the year between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Like everybody knows there's 5, 6, 7 weeks of the year business-wise. As you start to get into that part in your mind, what's in hindsight the thing you most learned this year or changed your mind on? Here's a funny way, given the context of this interview. If there's something that you think most marketers think is scary, pun intended, that you've become less scared of, because there's so much. I get thousands of inquiries on the changing landscape of marketing. If you reminisce about 2024 as a marketer at the highest levels, what was scary that is less scary because you did it? Or if there's no answer for that, as you head into 2025, what would you like to learn more of so it's less scary for you in 2025?
I think it's the age-old thing of, perfection's the enemy of great. And I think there's the risk of not producing and making enough. I think you learn more, the more you make, the more you put out into the world. And I think social is you have this amazing ability to create volume where you can learn and adjust and improve. So then you can take it to other media and amplify it. That was my great learning of this year. Like I knew social, I think to a degree. I don't think I knew it as well as I thought I did, but that was the great learning. And then as someone who I think you can spend a lot of time planning your media plans and planning your marketing plans, but I think it's always important to remember the thing the consumer sees is the creative work. And that is ultimately the message the consumer sees. And so ensuring you're always prioritizing that is always...
It's a funny dance with the two, right? Creative is the variable of success, but if they don't see the creative, you have no chance for success.
Exactly. So they're both important, but I think there's often the risk of like a lot of time is spent on where's the money going? What does the plan look like? Which can often mean then you're going,
that's the over mathification of marketing over the last decade.
Exactly. And I think one of the things we did this year, which I think my team just did an incredible job with, is like, how can we produce great work, but be really smart on how we produce it? So we produce some work in Peru, keeping production, high production quality, but lowering cost. We were using AI smart to keep production down, but so we could create really good work, but we could keep volume so we could still test into the market to make sure we were learning as we were doing. And that doesn't mean, hold back on all production volume, all production costs, because there's a time and a place where you always need to spend to get quality. But it was also a year where it was like, okay, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And testing into this seasonality for us, it's like, well, we can have a perfect strategy, but until you put the work into the market, you really don't know what's going to work. So let's be brave and make a few things and put them out into the market and learn. So that was it. It was like, let's make more than we think we need while being fiscally responsible so we can learn and do more of what works best. And I think, using social smartly and using it as an insights machine was the big aha for us this year.
It's great, brother. Well, listen, happy Halloween. Go enjoy it. Continued success to you in Opendoor.
Awesome. Thanks, Gary.
Cheers. Hi. You have a surprise? Oh my goodness, this is ridiculous. Look what's going on here. Jolly Jacko from VFriends. Jolly Jacko, great to see you, my friend. Happy Halloween. Thank you for the surprise appearance. I was like, what's going on? I was like, is the tech broken? Nope, the tech is fine. Jolly Jacko in the building. Thank you for the surprise, Jolly Jacko. Happy Halloween. That was funny. All right, Julie, how'd you like that? That was a little fun.
That was great.
That was very fun. Julie, why don't you say hello to everybody and give everybody a little sense of your world?
Well, first of all, hi, Gary. Good to see you again. Thank you for having me. As you can see here, I did not bring a live jack-o'-lantern, but we have something maybe even better. Season from Bailey's. So I'm the SVP of marketing of vodka, rum, gin, and liqueurs at Diageo. And what a treat to be able to celebrate spooky season with you and with a little bit of Bailey's to hopefully add a little even more to the treating experience.
For all the business nerds here, is Halloween a real play for Bailey's, or are you trying to enter that? Obviously, I'm not sure we even talked about this. I think once I mentioned to you, but it was quick. I mean, Bailey's in holiday tin in the 80s and 90s. Like when I was a kid working for my dad's liquor store, it is scary how much Bailey's was sold, in the Christmas season. Like I remember when I really started to nerd out on my dad's business, it was a shocking percentage of all the Baileys we sold in the year would happen during the holidays. Are you trying to push the brand up to even, because at least when I was in the liquor store in the 90s, we weren't feeling the effects in Halloween as much as we started to feel it around Thanksgiving into the holidays. Obviously I think Bailey's has grown a lot since, over these last 30 years since then, but is Halloween become a bigger pillar for the brand, or do you think Halloween has become a bigger holiday overall and an opportunity for all brands?
Well, let me start by saying holidays in general are very important for Bailey's because Bailey's is all about championing the joy of treating, right? So there's no better way to treat or to elevate the caliber of celebrations in our world than with Bailey's. However, why we're here today is probably this massive jack-o'-lantern behind me and Chef Amaury Guichon. So we actually partnered with him as part of our Bailey's chocolate liqueur platform. And he helped us actually reimagine all the elevated ways you could use Bailey's chocolate liqueur. And in this case, the pumpkin spice cocktail, which is endemic, not just to Halloween, but this entire season. So to bring this beautiful cocktail to life, Chef Guichon actually created this massive jack-o'-lantern. And you can see a little bit here for scale, made completely out of chocolate. Made it completely out of chocolate.
Did somebody get to eat it?
Well, not only that, 7 million people have engaged with this content, where we get to see him make this and enjoy the Bailey's chocolate pumpkin spice cocktail. So, we believe there are everyday moments to indulge. It's not just holidays, and to elevate your game of celebrating. And Bailey's is here for it, holiday or otherwise.
To nerd out a little bit, I think it's great, and the pumpkin spice thing has been huge. And to your point, it's crazy. It's really. Now that you've built off this momentum, it's the kind of thing that can get introduced. Literally no different than Starbucks, introduced as soon as we're out of Labor Day, right? And it gives you a real pathway to the holidays. Just to nerd out a little bit, back to the audience, what are the biggest challenges on jumping on a new brand to manage as you've gone through your career? When you went on Bailey's, what's the learning curve? What's the culture differences? How do you think about that as a professional?
Well, it's always an opportunity to learn and challenge. I love that, right? That always gets me excited. I think big brands, and especially brands that have a long history like Bailey's, which is 50 years, or Captain Morgan, which is one of my brands, there's just lots of opportunity to challenge ourselves, get to know our consumers better, and try new things, as your previous guest mentioned. I love that we're finding ways to build authentic connections with our consumers, that we're inspiring them in new ways, and listening and learning from them makes it fun.
What do you think most people that are watching from a Bailey standpoint, what do you think most people are unaware of when it comes to the brand and the occasions and the, really anything from your perspective?
Well, I think, those who are big fans know this, but I think there's a world of flavor to explore with Bailey's. We have, a large range of different flavors, whether it's s'mores or churros or chocolate or original Irish cream, which is, our mainstay. That allows us to enter a myriad of treating occasions. That's why
are the other flavors that you just mentioned LTOs, limited time offers, or are they mainstays?
Some are permanent, some are LTOs. And we're constantly reinventing. And I think that's what makes it exciting, right? It allows us to help celebrate every day with consumers as part of their lives. It helps us to elevate, an everyday cocktail to something that's a little bit more of a treat.
Yep.
And that's why we're very happy about the holiday season, but also happy to find these moments for adults to enjoy, like Halloween.
I love that. And what about, obviously your SVP marketing of vodka, rum, gin, liqueur, like you've got a broad scope. Just again, for the business and marketing nerds, what's your take on the state of the union of the overall spirits market, trends, challenges, things that are exciting, things to watch out for as we go into 2025, things to take advantage of?
I think it's a really exciting time. I think brands are very, very smart. I think if you are in the spirits category, there's a lot of innovation happening, but more importantly, traditional stalwart brands, like some of the ones I work on, are finding new and more exciting ways to connect with consumers. So for example, take, Captain Morgan. Captain Morgan has been having an exciting year. We are entering my favorite time of the year after Halloween, which is the Friendsgiving season. It's the time when you can rally your crew together, have some adventures, have some fun. And we are there for it with Captain Morgan, with some exciting, in culture partnerships and collaborations that we know are going to be really valued by our consumers. More importantly, we're about to get into the heart and the meat of NFL season. And as a sponsor, which I am on multiple brands, but I am with Captain Morgan, we're bringing back our epic scavenger hunt, Follow the Captain, for its second year, where fans all over the country get the chance to follow the captain for experiences and prizes, and even a to be announced collab with a certain streetwear brand that I know you have an affection for, which kicked off just yesterday. And the only way for folks to participate in this is by following the captain as part of this whole campaign. So it's really exciting. You'll see us Super Bowl weekend in New Orleans, where we'll be, surprising and delighting on the ground in New Orleans and all season long.
Julie, as a Jets fan, can we please not talk about football today?
Back to Halloween.
Thank you so much, darling. Last point, social media. Obviously we get to work together on some of the stuff on a couple of the brands. Do you feel the spirits industry is starting to wrap its head around the importance of the channel, your perspective on it, the evolution of it? Obviously alcohol, like toys and other financial services, they're always going to have a little bit of a different restriction, things of that nature. Anything that stands out between spirits and social these days?
Yeah, I think social is incredibly important because it's important to be where your consumer is. So of course there are certain places we cannot be, but we would not be where we cannot legally be, because that would be irresponsible.
Of course.
So I think it's an incredibly important way to continue to engage. We provide a lot of value to folks when it comes to recipes, creative inspiration with some of our brands in social. That is key. And I think it's an opportunity, again, to listen to our consumer, hear what is valuable to them, understand them, and get better as a consequence.
I love it. Julie, thank you so much for being on. Congrats on all your success.
Thanks for having me.
Online soon. Cheers. Avery?
Julie, thank you so much. That was amazing. And by the way, everyone who's watching this, if you have not tried Bailey's Halloween cocktails, like run to their Instagram, get all the recipes.
And the churros flavor. Like I literally watched somebody at Fly Fish Club, no, it wasn't Fly Fish, another place, lose their, like literally I was having a meeting at a bar conversation. I had to turn and just could not believe the general excitement of that individual on tasting it for the first time. Julie, I really, like, I wasn't fast enough on the phone to like capture it for like content. It was.
We can recreate the experience.
Julie, honestly, I'm sure it's remarkable, but this reaction was like, you would have thought there was like $1 million inside the liquid.
Oh, Bailey's LTOs are hot. There's like a gray market. It's a whole thing. Bailey's LTOs, run to the store, try your pumpkin spice, get your Halloween.
You can see it. The chat has exploded more about this one moment so far than any other moment so far in the beginning of the show. So there is definitely a Bailey's limited time offered flavors cult building, and kudos to y'all.
Well, and good news is Bailey's chocolate is permanent, so you can find it all year long.
Awesome. Cheers.
We need a special Bailey's chocolate cocktail. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
That was amazing. Everybody, Bailey's is the best. And who we're about to bring up is one campaign that I am so fired up about. If you love pickles, if you love Snooki, if you love sandwiches, you are going to love this segment. Gary, we're going to let you go. Wipe away your tears for the Jets, because we have some amazing ladies who are coming up here. I'm going to welcome Mima Johnson, who is our ECD. Who worked on this incredible campaign, and her partner in crime, Suze from Inspire Brands and Jimmy John. So over to you, wonderful ladies. I'm so pumped about this campaign.
Yes. Thank you so much. And thanks for joining us, Suze. So happy that you're here.
So happy to be here.
Oh my gosh. And what a fun one. Today is the official launch of Pickle Witch. So if you are hearing this, seeing this right now, please go to Jimmy John's and you have to try this. This is amazing. And one of the most influential people behind this new offering at Jimmy John's is the fabulous Suzanne DeRouchie, who's joining us as the Senior Director of Social Activation at Jimmy John's. Thank you so much for being here today, Suze.
Thanks for having me. Yes, we're so excited for the launch. I saw that a lot of the VaynerMedia folks ordered some Pickle Witches today. And we have been doing the same at our office, and the social buzz is insane.
I love it. I'm so happy that it's finally live. So now that it's out in the world, can you give us a little bit of the spooky details, like behind the scenes of how you and the team actually got to this idea of Pickle Witch as we enter Halloween week?
Absolutely. So the Pickle Witch is something that I've been dreaming about for a few years now. I mean, as you can imagine, Jimmy John's sandwiches, Jimmy John's pickles, like to bring the two together is a dream come true. But we had to really figure out the right moment in time. And I thought spooky season was the perfect time, because we teamed up with you guys at Vayner, and we were able to work with iconic Snooki, who's obsessed with pickles, to be our Pickle Witch. And it couldn't have been more perfect. It lended itself perfectly to a Halloween content series that I don't think we knew that we needed.
We definitely needed it, Suze. For sure, for sure. I love that you talked about the role of Snooki in this, because there's actually two components. So there is this new sandwich. It is truly a sandwich, guys. It is a sandwich, even if it's not on bread. It's a sandwich, I promise. The internet's debating. It's a new sandwich, and also there is this new series, like Suze said, surrounding it, starring the one and only Snooki. So obviously, you and I are Snooki fans. We've been Jersey Shore fans for a while, but do you mind sharing with our marketing crew at home how and why we picked Snooki to be the face and ultimately our Pickle Witch?
Right. So, even if you're not a Jersey Shore fan, I think everyone is familiar with who Snooki is. But in her past Jersey Shore days, she was historically known for drinking pickle juice straight out of the jar when she was hungover, eating pickles whole, like no shame. And so really she was the first one that popped into our minds as being the lead for this role. I think, it was aspirational for us to dream of Snooki, so we started to explore more like Halloween, spooky season cohort creators that could lean into that. And, Snooki just kept coming back to us. Like we have to use Snooki.
You can't forget Snooki, right?
You can't forget her. So, and she iconic Snooki witch in costume with the witch hat with the green hair. And she loves pickles more importantly. So I think Snooki was a must-have for this series.
Oh, yeah.
She was a phenomenal actress, even though she's not an actor. She nailed it. You can see her content live on our social channels now, and she's been great to work with.
Oh my God, she was incredible. To that point, just as like a little fun behind the scenes marketing thing, when we cast her, we were like, hey, we're going to shoot this, you're the Pickle Witch. And she was so into it. And we said, hey, when you come to set, obviously we're going to give you a costume, wardrobe, things like that. She came to set with green streaks in her hair because she was so committed to being the Pickle Witch. So we were like, oh, we knew it was meant to be.
I know. And you could tell she was excited. She brought Joey, her makeup artist. She did the green eyeshadow.
Fabulous.
I think she was nervous about the makeup, but after it launched, everyone was talking about how great it looked. So she really leaned into the part. It was great.
Oh, yes. Fantastic. So yes, if you haven't seen Snooki in her debut as the Pickle Witch, please check her out. It's all over Jimmy John's social and definitely on a couple sites near you. I think the campaigns made the rounds. It was on People this weekend, the Today Show. It was even picked up by Complex over the weekend, which was like a huge win for us. So
big. We've got over 1 billion impressions so far, and we're just kicking off the campaign.
I know it just launched today, which is bananas or pickles. I guess it's not bananas, it's pickles. Okay, so some fun rapid fire here at the end. Anything catching your eye that you've been super excited about from this year's Halloween campaigns? Obviously, we talked about Opendoor and their cool vampire campaign. Anything else you're loving?
I am loving Duncan's Spidey D content.
Yes! Oh my God, I'm obsessed.
I know. They did a fun takeover with Spidey. He's on their little cute Halloween donuts. And Spidey's got some attitude. So when we started to pick up on his content, we decided to play around with our Pickle Witch and started to do a little like back and forth romance between Spidey D and the Pickle Witch. It kind of took on a life of its own. But yeah, having a lot of fun watching Duncan in their spooky season.
Do I sense a Pickle Witch part 2? Coming up?
I feel like there should be. I feel like this is taking on a life of its own.
I know.
So we'll have to start thinking about next year.
Maybe this is like the Valentine's Day continuation. Like there's a little love story there. I don't know.
I think so, Mima. We're on to something.
You never know. Okay, this is a fun one, and I'm dying to know what your answer is to this.
Okay.
So if Jimmy John's could go trick-or-treating as anything, any costume, what would it be?
I mean, it would have to be a Pickle Witch. I mean, that's what I'm going to be on Halloween. So I think we are actually inspiring real costumes. Just all you got to do is throw on a green sweatshirt, put on a witch hat, and you're the Pickle Witch.
You guys, you heard it here first. This is the costume of the season is a Pickle Witch. So we're only 3 days away. If you don't have anything, grab yourself a green sweater, a Pickle Witch, and a witch hat, and you are good to go. Hottest costume on the market. To that point, what do you think? Because you, for those of you that don't know Suze, she is not only an incredible marketer, incredible person, she is a cultural maven. So I'm very curious to know from you, what do you think is going to be the most common like cultural theme costume of the year? What do you think is like going to be that thing that we see on all of our social feeds on Friday morning?
Any female icon in music is what you're going to see. Anything from Sabrina Carpenter to Charlie XCX, Olivia Rodrigo.
Is that what you're going as? Are you going as Sabrina Carpenter?
I got to be a Pickle Witch, but if Sabrina Carpenter wants to dress as actually, our VP of IMC, Kate Carpenter.
Yes.
Well, her last name's Carpenter, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it leans itself very well. Her daughter is going to be Sabrina Carpenter. And lean into the I am Sabrina and wear a tool belt. So I think there's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, you're going to have the Swifties out there with Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. I already think that the kid that dressed as the backup dancer, one of Taylor Swift's backup dancers.
Yes. Oh my God. I love him. Oh, sweetheart.
Yeah, he was super cute.
Love that. Oh my God. I love that. I also have to say, I'm just putting it out in the universe that like people think that Charlie XCX invented Brat Green. Actually, Jimmy John's invented Brat Green because we've had pickles on the menu for years, decades. Right. So I'm just saying we should get a little credit there.
Okay, and Mima, on that note, I want to deep dive and dissect what is a Pickle Witch. We know there's Snooki, we know there's the campaign. I feel like we also need to share where this insight came from and exactly what a Pickle Witch is.
Of course, yes. Okay, so we should actually start with the fact that Jimmy John's pickles are elite. This came from a lot of the signals we were seeing in the social content that we were doing, where people are like, look, lots of restaurants have pickles, but Jimmy John's pickles are elite. Like that word exactly is what we saw people saying. We were like, okay, so how can we turn this into a much bigger thing? Yeah, you can go to Jimmy John's to get a pickle on the side, but what if you could make it your entire sandwich? So now, starting today, you can go to Jimmy John's and instead of bread, like who needs carbs? Like we're all keto now anyway, right? It's 2024. You're gonna take that giant juicy Jimmy John's pickle, cut that puppy in half, and you get all your meat, your cheese, your veggies on the inside, in between two delicious, crunchy, briny slices of pickle. So that is the Jimmy John's Pickle Witch. Anything you want to add to that, Suze?
You nailed it. We've got 2 builds, a Vito and a turkey. So the Vito is one of our most popular sandwiches. And so we turn that into a pickle witch. And the funny thing is, Mima, when we launched the Snooki video, we got so many comments of like, is this real? You know, we had the lore of the pickle
I saw
witch
that.
is real, right? So people were questioning, they were thinking it was like an early April Fool's Day. Is this real? And then when we launched a carousel, the next thing we launched was a carousel of the types of pickle witches. It received 2.4 million views, organic views, following that Snooki video, because it validated the fact that this is a real thing and that people can get it in store.
Let's go. Yes.
Right.
That's what we like to see. People want the Pickle Witch. Like you're just giving the people what they want.
They want Pickle Witch. You all tied it together in a super relevant way, and amazing to see all the press and pickup and social amplification. So Mime and Suze, thank you so much for joining us on Marketing for the Now.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, next up, we do not have a pickle witch, but we have a dear friend of Vayner's, Keith Grossman, who's going to be joining us. Keith is currently the president of enterprise at Moonpay. But Keith, you've done a lot of things. You've seen a lot of Halloween campaigns. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I don't even know how to start following the pickle witch conversation. I got to tell you, the only thing I would say is, first, it's half my Instagram feed. I said that to you. Like, it is everywhere. And it was awesome just to hear them talk a second ago between me and Suze about like all that has gone into it. Like, I feel like I fully understand my Instagram feed right now for the first time. Second, the idea of V-Day pickle witches is terrible. V-Day pickle breath would just quail. Like, I couldn't please stay away from V-Day pickle breath.
Yes.
Okay? Yeah, like what can I answer, Avery? Like that was a fascinating conversation.
Keith, you're always up to fascinating things too. Before this role, you're the president of Time. You've done a bunch of things sort of iconic and in culture. And what I wanted to ask you a little bit about is, one, what you're up to these days, and two, some very big announcements that you all have had that is, I would say, more on the treat than on the trick side in your current role at Moonpay.
Yeah, look, I've been at Moonpay now for almost 2 years. And it's wild, right? One thing, and if I can, Avery, when I was at Time, and I don't know if you even know this story, and I launched Time into Web3, do you know the history of what Gary did for me? Did I ever tell you this?
I don't know. Maybe.
I feel like
this
is a great place to tell this story publicly. So Gary launched VFriends, as everyone knows, and it was incredibly successful. And when he did it, I was so fascinated by what he did. And you know me, because we've known each other for a very long time. For people who don't know me, I need to like understand how things work. So I start to dissect them. And so I took VFriends and I actually dissected it all the way down to a spreadsheet. And it was the inspiration for timepieces, right, that we were taking out. And about a month before we launched timepieces, I had my VFriends spreadsheet on my screen, and I sent Gary a text and I said, I want you to know something. I dissected VFriends and I see exactly what you did. And in a month's time, I'm going to launch something at Time. And I promise I will always give you credit for it. And do you know what Gary's response was to my text? He said, what did you learn? Right? Like, I thought it was like the greatest thing. And so I walked him through like what I learned, but throughout all of it, he was always so wonderful to me. So that's why I always, whatever you guys will ever need, I will always do anything for the Vayner family.
Well, thank you for saying that, Keith. But yeah, tell us what you're up to now. You guys had some huge announcements last week. Tell us about that.
Sure. So, in the past few months, we started to work closer and closer with PayPal, right?
Mhm.
And about 2.5 months ago, we launched PayPal into Moonpay and Moonpay for PayPal customers, right? Giving access to all of the great sort of venues that PayPal gives, access into. Last week, we launched Venmo into the crypto ecosystem, and that was unbelievable, right? Because PayPal is one demographic, Venmo is another demographic, and what you see, is all of these communities all of a sudden getting access into ecosystems that they just never had access to, but being able to bridge the current way in which they have a relationship with money with sort of these new asset classes. And I personally like Venmo because I use Venmo and it's so personal to me. Was just such an exciting one. And to give you an idea, I just saw some numbers. We're not even fully rolled out to 100% of users yet on Venmo.
Mhm.
And in the first week of Venmo being live to a small subset, it has done more volume than PayPal did in the first month
Wow.
of being live. And this is just, I think, a great testament to sort of the excitement that people have to being able to access these ecosystems.
And can you talk about the timing of this launch? Like you said, you've been there for 2 years. This must have been something you're working on for a very long time. I know your mission is to bring, make crypto accessible to, is it 1 billion users? I think that's your target, right?
Well, if there's 7 billion people on the planet, it'll be 7 billion users. Like I want
Okay, 7 billion users. Got it. Well, yeah, I mean, plenty of those people, as you know, don't even have access to clean water, let alone internet, let alone crypto. But hey, that one step at a time, right?
Yeah, I mean, here's a really funny thing that you bring up is like they don't have access to clean water running, like electricity, and whatnot. A lot of people don't understand crypto, right? In countries that are very stable, right? Countries like America, regardless of like what you want to say is going on, is very stable at the end of the day. European countries, very stable. A few months ago, we saw in Kenya when there was a little bit of instability. Phantom, one of the wallets out there, was on the ground actually showing people how they could purchase Solana to sort of pull out of the sort of local currency and into a decentralized currency. And when I asked our team to look at what are the volume flows into Solana at Moonpay, which is by far the largest on-ramp in the world, month over month, in that month, we saw those numbers increase 447%, right? And so if you look at places like Venezuela, where you're seeing incredible sort of fluctuations, I think it was 6% of their GDP was remittances. And like the number one area that's going to solve, that crypto will solve, will be these stable coins and providing access to capital, which will ultimately provide access in unstable countries to running water. By the way, not as fascinating as pickle witches, but integral to society.
They're both integral to society. So Keith, it's so interesting to hear sort of what you're up to. This is a big mission and you're really chipping away at it. For those of you guys who are watching and are interested in this kind of thing, be following along what Keith and his team are doing at Moonpay. It's really, do not underestimate Keith, is one thing I've learned over my career. He's always working on something big, and this linkage with PayPal and Venmo is just an example of that I'm sure took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in Keith Grossman negotiation. But Keith, let's talk about if Moonpay was dressing up for Halloween. How would you go dressed up trick-or-treating?
Well, okay, so you have to understand, right? Like if you ask that question to Ivan, our co-founder and CEO, the answer would be something very cool. If you ask that question to me, you get something very, very dorky, right? And so I'm going to go with the safe bet, and I would say like I might dress Moonpay up as Snooki, right? After listening to the last one,
I love it. Amazing. And Keith, what interesting things are you seeing in the world of Halloween?
So from a Moonpay perspective, and this one is actually fascinating. When you asked me about like what is Moonpay doing for Halloween, from an internal perspective, obviously like we're a remote first company, right?
Yep.
We're beginning to start to aggregate around London and New York, and we obviously do the costumes. I love this. October 31st is actually the 16th anniversary of the Bitcoin white paper.
Wow. Okay. So
So
maybe you dress up as Satoshi, a white paper.
maybe, yes. And, for us, like we're going to do a lot of Halloween celebration around that anniversary, tying it into Halloween. And so there's
Amazing.
a
Well, Keith, you brought up VeeFriends at the beginning. This is the Jolly Jacko character. For those of you who missed it at the beginning, this is the Halloween-inspired VeeFriends character called Jolly Jacko. Keith, thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing your story. Jolly, thank you for your second cameo. Let's bring up our next guest here. We actually have Shiri Hellmann, who is the VP of Brand at Fiverr. I saw your campaign and I thought it was amazing. So thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So hi, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. Well, I'm Shiri Hellmann. I'm the VP Global Brand Communication at Fiverr. And we're all about helping small businesses thrive. And this year we tapped into it with a Halloween moment.
That is amazing. So I believe the campaign is called The Retail Graveyard. Tell us a little bit about like one, that insight, and two, how it came to life.
Well, helping small businesses thrive through strong digital presence is one of our main objectives at Fiverr. So for our creative internal team, it's always a priority. It's always on the table, and they're always looking for ideas of how to communicate this message. So they came up with the insight, with inspiration from actually Seinfeld, which I don't know which episode was it, where he speaks about those, like in every city and in every neighborhood, there's this one location that no matter what they open there, it's always like failing, whether it's a pet store or
we all know those.
We all know this cursed location. So the creative team came up with the idea of let's use Fiverr freelancers with digital marketing to help those businesses break the curse. So we loved the insight. Great. So we had, for having like a great idea, you need to have the great service, which we have, a great universal insight. Thank you, Seinfeld, for that. And then to connect it with the right cultural moment. So when thinking about Halloween, it was kind of like the perfect fit. The time of the year where breaking the curse is super relevant. So that's how it all came about.
Amazing. Okay. And, when you think about leaning into cultural relevance and Halloween, was this something that sort of just serendipitously came together, or was Halloween a place that Fiverr has been playing for a while?
We haven't necessarily played for a while in Halloween. I think that the search for the right moment for this insight brought in the Halloween theme. And I think with the success we had with this spot, because we also initiated an activation where we offered Fiverr credits to small businesses or people who know other businesses that need help, and then we can help them with our freelancers on the platform. So I think we definitely are going to look into this time of the year moving forward, especially because it's such a fun time. Pure 100% fun.
People love a Halloween moment. Kind of like links to it. It's fun. It's friendly. We're well before election period. We're also well before holidays, so it's like not quite as competitive in the auctions. Talk to me a little bit about the activation. I just saw the campaign. I didn't realize you guys did a physical activation as well. Where did that happen? How did that happen? Is Fiverr obviously, you guys are a global brand. I've used a lot of different Fiverr partners and freelancers from outside of the US. Talk about the activation piece.
So obviously it all happened on social, which is where everybody lives. And it's something we do very often. Like I think part of the, it's not just about the storytelling, and you're right that Halloween is a great moment there's a lot of appetite for this type of storytelling. It's also about walking the walk and helping those businesses, improving the case that you can thrive with the help of freelancers. So this is something we do on often with a lot of campaigns that we're doing, and we usually like to document all those success stories. And also another thing that we are always doing, that in everything we do, we always incorporate our own community of freelancers with the creation itself. So even this spot specifically, the Retail Graveyard, was created what we called made on Fiverr, or in this specific case, it's literally handmade on Fiverr. Because we work together, when we look for like how can we make an execution that would be an eye candy, speaking of Halloween, then our creative director, Ami, he suggested we'll partner with 2 artists that are part of our community. Their name is True Twins, which are not truly twins, apparently, but they're very, very talented. And their expertise is to create this miniature worlds. So with their help, I think they worked with for about a week with a team of 8 different artists after designing the whole city, like a miniature city, with an architect. I think the size of the city was about like 6 by 6 foot, to give this, feeling of, I would say, inspired by a Tim Burton The Nightmare Before Christmas type of vibe, or Gotham City, or Beetlejuice, and to create something that would stand out and look differently, and would also be something we can be proud on something that was made on Fiverr.
Something sufficiently spooky made on Fiverr. So I think that's really cool. And a lot of people who listen to this show, they're marketers themselves, often working with different agency partners, very often working with Vayner, but sometimes not. Talk about that process of briefing in different Fiverr creators and artists. I think that's such a unique thing that I see a lot of small businesses do. They, use Fiverr for helping with everything from ad copy to concepting to design and production. But for a big brand, you really like eating your own dog food when it comes to using your product itself. How do you go about identifying those Fiverr freelancers? And, what was that process like for your team?
Yeah, it's not just internally. I think we're not alone. I think we're seeing a big trend of increase of, the workforce of moving towards freelancing. And also on the Fiverr platform, we have a lot of customers which are large organizations. And I think we're going to see more and more of this, the same as we have today, this hybrid way of working, of remote versus in office. We're going to see more and more hybrid workforces. And we see it today of, company has their own internal team, and every time you need either to expand your team, or you're looking for a specific
miniature world built, something niche.
I can give you another example. We just recently launched a new campaign called Nobody Cares If You Use AI. And which AI is, it's like the big 2 letters that everybody discuss. And the campaign was created both with live action and AI creation that was generated by we found the gifted AR artists that can do the work for us. And so I think, because for us, it's almost like an ongoing thing. We're so used to working with our own platform and with our own community. So every time, based on the work and based on the need, we tap into different capabilities and talents.
Amazing. So, Shiri, give us a little peek into like where Fiverr is heading next from a brand standpoint. You mentioned another campaign that you guys have live. Are you doing something big for holiday? What's the sort of strategy going into the back part of the year?
Yeah. So now we're in the hype of the latest campaign of Nobody Cares If
You Use AI.
Yes, because I think, speaking of cultural moments like Halloween and cultural conversation, obviously with AI, everybody's on one hand anxious and have this FOMO of what's going on, how is it going to affect me, what's the new tools. On the other hand, there is a certain level of fatigue from that conversation,
right,
of hearing about it. And I think after seeing some of the behavior on our own platform, we had the insight that at the end of the day, results matter. And if you want to really to have great creation, you need the human talent to leverage the technology versus looking at the technology as a replacement. So this was the idea that came. So this is where we are right now in terms of the current campaign. And looking forward, shopping season for Fiverr is already started, because we're into helping small businesses.
Yep.
Our job is to help them prepare for the shopping season. So we launched already a new campaign that helps, take some of the data that we got from a recent shopping research that we do every year. And we just took those data points and turned them into Christmas carols.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it was
so
really
we're
cute.
pulling things that like verbatims, things that people are saying. Are you using with AI or a little combination of both?
This was a bit this was actually mostly live action with a little bit of combination, because some of the data is referring to AI.
Yeah.
But I think it was fun to use, again, speaking of culture and consumer mindset, taking this very catchy, Christmas carols that we all know and like, and using the data that we have to drive business owners to tap into Fiverr freelancers and to help their business.
Amazing. It seems like Fiverr is on the ball with all of the relevant moments, from Halloween and the retail graveyard to this new Christmas Carol thing to, nobody cares if you use AI. We can't wait to see it. And Shiri, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you so much, Avery. Enjoyed it.
All right. Amazing. I feel like so Halloween inspired. I cannot wait for trick-or-treating for holiday season. And I wanted to do something a little bit different where we actually do a deep dive into one of our own properties. Vaynerx, part of our family is Gallery Media Group, and they have one handle that is very viral when it comes to Halloween. And that handle is @cocktails. So I wanted to do a little case study where we bring on two of the leads who are sort of creatively and production-wise making all of this magic happen. So with that, we've got our wonderful friends from Gallery Media Group, Justin and Ali. Can y'all introduce yourselves and say what you do at GMG?
For sure. Justin, you want to go first?
Sure. I'm Justin Goldberg. I head our social video team at GMG. And so that runs, recipes, cocktails, pure wow moms, and ball players. And I'm sure there are others that I am missing, but yeah.
And I am the Senior Director of Social Strategy at GMG, so overseeing the strategy side of all those handles that Justin mentioned, both editorially and on the branded content side. But Justin and I work hand in hand on everything we push out on our O&O.
And you all are the manufacturers of many a viral, aptly named. So can you give our audience a little bit of an understanding of like how we determine a viral? And then maybe we could even pull up on the screen some examples of ones that we've made for the holiday season and the Halloween season. That I saw a couple of virals as it relates to Halloween, and I thought it'd be a perfect time for you guys to kind of dissect what actually goes into making these. So give us a peek under the hood.
Yeah. We can reference one that recently went viral for Halloween, which was the Dracula's Daiquiri. And I can touch on the strategy side, and then Justin can get more into the creative bit.
Dracula's Daiquiri. Okay, amazing. So this was a viral. How did we do it?
So it's a combination of both the creative and the strategy side. But a few things that we try and focus on when we're brainstorming is like, what are our known truths about the audience? Like, what do we historically see perform well on this handle? So one, with like cultural moments and Halloween, but any seasonal moment, we plan super far ahead. So summer cocktails are going live in April. Halloween's going live in August. The earlier we launch this stuff, the better it does. So we're always finding different iterations of formats and flavors that we know the audience loves. And then for that seasonality moment, like how can we make it witchy or spooky or smoky?
Witchy. I feel like witchy is a big thing this year, right?
It
like
is.
Maybe it's like linked into brat, but everybody wants to be witchy, witching hour cup and whole thing.
Yes. The Dracula Daiquiri in specific, that one got 1.7 million views, 22,000 shares, 24,000 saves. So like just really insane numbers.
24,000 organic saves of a piece of content that we made. And we made that because we knew people are like sort of into this idea of cocktails for Halloween. Maybe they're having Halloween parties, et cetera, et cetera. Yep. We wanted to make it witchy. And then I wonder if 24,000 people are actually going to make it. It seemed kind of like a complicated recipe.
We do try and stick to more minimal ingredients, but yeah, some are a little bit more advanced. But yeah, like we know there's some truths about the audience of why this one did so well. We know they love daiquiris, no matter the time of year. We can do daiquiris when it's snowing outside or in the summer. Like people love that. They love seasonal twist on like classic cocktails. So a daiquiri, how can we make it more Halloween-y? And they also love frozen drinks. And similar to daiquiris, like they love frozen drinks, winter, spring, fall, summer, doesn't matter. But yeah, it's basically what we did here is remixing a version of that classic cocktail and putting a spin on it that, like cocktail enthusiasts might want to try it, but also like people who want a sense of familiarity, they also be open to experimenting with something like that for a party or whatever it may be. And like I mentioned, with us launching that content as early as possible, in September, 62% of our viral content was tied to Halloween or the fall season.
Okay, so seasonality makes a huge difference in things like at cocktails content. Like people are looking for seasonal things. Maybe they're hosting parties, maybe they're entertaining, maybe they're just looking to create their own viral moments.
Exactly. So that's a bit of the strategy side, but Justin can also tap more into the visuals.
Yeah, totally. I think like obviously knowing all of that, we'd think, okay, well, everyone's going to, if we do all Halloween content, it's all going to go viral. Obviously that is not always the case. And I think like what separates this specific video, I think apart are a few different kind of production visual cues that we use, like the servingware, which I don't know if you saw the viral piece, but it's like really interesting. Our audience is really interested in servingware. They're interested
Explain
in
what you mean by that, Justin. Like, what do you mean by servingware?
so like really interesting things to hold, whether that's cocktails or food, things that you're actually serving it in, and someone that someone could possibly purchase on Amazon or purchase, like go to their local store. They haven't seen something unique. And so that will tie your eye right there when you, especially if you're opening with
like
that.
a little cauldron, a little something
or like, yeah, exactly. So I think this one was like a goblet, but like all kinds of different things like that. And then the vampire gummy teeth that we had, that like the garnishes really set the things apart. So you see that right up at the top of that video. And then you see a pour as well, like that red pour. And it's just like so vibrant. And I think like all of those things combined and those garnishes in the first like beat like the first 1 to 3 seconds of the video just pulls you in. And then there's like a couple things in the background that you don't want to distract audience from, but you kind of want to give that festive vibe. So like in this one, like there's some simple but subtle Halloween cues in the background, and I think that also drives the context. All of a sudden there's a Halloween video, like let me stop because I see that in the background, but it's kind of subtle subconsciously. So I think those things, and obviously like all of our stuff is usually shot on an iPhone. So like it's easy to make for our team usually. And the production quality, like everyone notices, okay, this is like something that I could potentially do at home or shoot at home.
Amazing. I mean, there's a lot of strategy and there's a lot of creative direction, a lot of experience that goes into creating a viral that has 24,000 organic saves. So I don't want to underestimate that, but I do want to sort of ask you all, if for a lot of our brand marketers who are watching this, who are looking and listening and learning, what are your tips for sort of creating those viral moments themselves? Justin, you just mentioned that you're shooting this on an iPhone. So equipment is not going to be an excuse, but what are like maybe 3 tips of how to actually go viral, for our brand friends who are listening to this?
Again, we can like kind of touch on the strategy and the creative side, but something that we've been, put into our brains forever at Vayner and at GMG is obviously volume. That gives you more at bats, 1 for virality and 2 for insights and learnings, which is like the more important part in my opinion. We're constantly sharing these insights and learnings with our strategy team, the creative team, and across everyone, so everyone knows what they can implement going forward. But yeah, we're just constantly learning and testing new flavors, new formats, and finding really what our audience leans into. For example, like we know our audience loves Aperol spritzes. They love ice cube, like different ice cubes shapes.
They love ice cubes.
Pickles. So we make every iteration possible of that drink or that flavor or that ice cube or that Jell-O shot. And we just keep doing, testing. And we see so many viral wins because of that. And just constantly leaning to those things that are working. We're also constantly A/B testing. So identifying a theory or hypothesis and executing a test and sharing that learning across both teams. We've taken things that have underperformed and we're like, okay, let's change this text overlay to the one that always goes viral, which is like, send this to the person who X or the person who sent you X. And we put that text overlay in there.
Hooks.
Yeah, different hooks, different visual opening hooks, but really leading to those things that work and kind of beating them till they're dead. And then also we try to make the pieces of viral content that really take off. We try to give them a longer life. So how can we take that piece of viral content and turn it into another piece of viral content? One thing we've been doing a lot on Pure Wow and cocktails, because Pure Wow audience really also loves alcohol, is doing collab post. And we take like 3 viral cocktails that had a similar theme. So like say they're Halloween cocktails or Aperol cocktails. We make a cover slide that has an illustration of those 3 cocktails. And we put like a little headline on it. And then the next 3 slides in the carousel are those viral videos. And those carousels are consistently going viral. So just giving it more life and just kind of recreating those wins. Is some ways we've seen some.
I love it. Really like stretching and maximizing it into different formats. What starts as a video can turn into a carousel, can turn into a piece of digital, content on purewow.com. Justin, what are some of your tips?
I was going to say, Allie always has hammered this in my head. And I think this is so true, which is you're serving your audience the same thing that they love again and again and again until they get sick of it. I know that sounds like it's not rocket science, but it is so important. I think for us, filming with like those visuals, those first few visuals in mind is always top of mind. And like, you hear my team like in the back of their head, like, is it enough to capture my attention in that scroll, right? And it is actually true, especially when you're dealing with food, or you're dealing with drinks. Like those things are going to be crucial, but also like you want to make sure that it doesn't look over the top cheesy too, where you're at the very end like, oh, what is that? And then you're like, I don't even want to engage with that. So I think there's like that really thin line that we like to tread at cocktails, where is it really visually interesting and fun, and can it like hold my attention, but also like, can I still engage with this and think it's classy? So I think those are the things. And then also obviously there's things like lighting, and how are we opening with sound? Are we opening with ASMR type of sound where we hear a really interesting pour
smoky
or
sounds.
a smoky? Yeah, exactly. And I think obviously you don't want to overdo that, but I do think that there is some appeal to capturing your audience's attention pretty quickly.
I think you all have done that and more. If everybody who's watching Marketing for the Now, go check out at Cocktails and many other handles. Some of this Dracula's daiquiri really caught my attention, and clearly 24,000 people who wanted to save it, millions of views, all organic. This is just a testament to what's possible by really understanding what your audience likes, creating for them. And as you all just said, they like ice cubes, which is a key insight. More on the ice cubes. So Ali and Justin, thank you guys so much for joining us on Marketing for the Now. I think we'll do more of these little like case studies into the how, because I think it's so interesting to get very practical. But we saved one of the best for last. And I'm really excited to be welcoming up Amy Marino, who is the head of brand globally for HubSpot. Hi, Amy. How are you?
Hi, Avery. Good to see you.
So nice to see you. Amy, you lead the team at HubSpot that's responsible for the sort of relentlessly relevant customer platform for scaling businesses, for helping to simplify marketers' lives. So you're literally the perfect guest to have on Marketing for the Now. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, of course. So I've been at HubSpot for about 3 years now. As you mentioned, I'm leading brand marketing and social over there. And that is our goal, just to be relentlessly relevant to this audience of what we call our upmarket decision makers. So these are business decision makers at companies about 200 to 2,000 in size, and really speaking to them like humans and connecting with them emotionally, which, if you can believe it, is pretty unique for our category. So that's what we're here to do all day, every day. And prior to this, I was at American Express for about 10 years, where I was leading various roles over there in global advertising and brand management as well.
I mean, you've had an amazing career. I believe you were named one of the most creative people in business by Fast Company or Brand Innovators, 40 under 50. You've won Effies, you've done the whole thing. But we're here to talk about Halloween, and we're here to talk about some of the relentlessly relevant work that your team has done for seasonally. Can you tell us what y'all have been cooking up at HubSpot for this year's Halloween campaign?
Yeah, so actually, we just launched a global brand campaign just a couple of weeks ago that is, I don't know that it was necessarily planned this way, but it's actually kind of a play on what marketers say is super scary for them, which is trying to juggle all the things. So if you're a marketer today, you're sort of switching between creating content to managing campaigns to analyzing campaigns. And what we're hearing from a lot of folks in this community is that they're doing all this work, but they're actually coming up short when it comes to impact on the business. So despite marketers being spread so thin, our series of spots and our social content that's out there right now is showing how it's actually never been easier to create content that breaks through and campaigns that drive revenue and have an impact on the bottom line when you're using HubSpot. But since we're here to talk about Halloween, as far as Halloween specifically, our team has some really fun posts planned that we've started pushing out already. And our Halloween content, but really all of our culturally relevant content in general, what we see is that it performs really well because we work to make it highly relatable. And it's really developed to draw an emotional reaction from our audience. And I don't know if your listeners know this, but we actually work with Vayner to do a lot of that work. So kudos to the full team.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we love working with you all. I was just thinking about this post that was on the HubSpot account recently that was talking about like, shrimp posture, which is something that, I mean, I fall directly in your category of who you're trying to target. I know exactly what that is of like, your posture's not all right. Amy, can you tell us a little bit more about the brand campaign for those who have not seen it? I think it's amazing and like super relevant. And it does kind of have this like spooky aura. I don't know if that was strategically timed or just sort of so happened, but I've seen the work. It's amazing. What kind of reaction have you had from your audience upon launching this campaign?
Yeah, we've had a really great reaction. I mean, the campaign was really created to draw that juxtaposition between life when you're not using HubSpot and what life feels like when you are using HubSpot. So that notion that, again, marketers are on the hook to do all of these really impossible things and to deliver higher revenue than ever before. They're under a lot of pressure to do that. But HubSpot can really make what feels impossibly easy through our products and services, through our new suite of AI products, which is called Breeze. And we're getting some great reactions from folks in social. We're already seeing some really good breakthrough and brand lift in the channels where we're running. And so, like I said, we just launched this a few weeks ago, but early results look really good, and we've got some great momentum going into Q4.
Amazing. I think like the halo of that brand campaign combined with like the relevance of a lot of the content you all are doing on social really is creating that right moment of breakthrough. And you touched on some of the sort of Halloween inspired relevance posts. I saw a couple that were really good, including the sort of, Halloween costume that's super relatable to all the in-office people. Any insights from you all on how HubSpot's able to effectively lean into cultural relevance to sort of spark a conversation, whether that's happening on platforms like Instagram or platforms like LinkedIn?
Yeah, so right now for us and also for our customers, we're all pretty deep into Q4, which for any business is really a make or break time of the year. And for our customers, we know that they're trying to bring those deals over the line before 2025. But at a macro level, there's also a ton going on from a cultural perspective. So there's obviously the holidays that we play into, like Halloween and Thanksgiving and Black Friday, but there's also these really fun internety, like cultural moments that our audience looks forward to, where we can play as well. So think things like Spotify Wrapped or getting ready to play into 2025 astrology content, as an example. We really understand our audience of elder millennials and older Gen Zs really well. And we try to, in social, mirror the code switching that they're doing between their role as, a business decision maker and their role as a consumer by acknowledging pop culture and trends and speaking to them like they want to be spoken to, understanding meme culture, kind of doing it with this twist of having a business context. So we know that they index really high on that kind of content. And so when we can play in this space with an angle that adds some dimension to their corporate personas, we see a lot of traction. And Avery, you brought this up, so I can talk about it a little bit too. Last week, we posted our own version of the Spirit Halloween costume meme, but we showed the scariest personas that you can run into in the workplace. So think like cold caller level 500, Brian from legal, the unhinged social media manager, very relatable content, which we know and feel because, that was a static carousel post that we put out across all of the platforms that we activate in. So Instagram and LinkedIn and TikTok. And just looking at like a platform like LinkedIn alone, which, some people think is only for business content, but it is not. We're seeing a lot of really fun meme-based and trend-based content take off there. It's got over like 2,000 interactions. People are sharing their own costume ideas in the comments, which are hilarious. So we know that it's a hit. And then I guess I would say, like, broadly, we found that optimizing to speed is really essential. So when there's not a lot of time for production, or we've got to jump on a trend right away, we'll do things like pop up with really lighthearted text-only posts, even in platforms like LinkedIn and Instagram, which are, you know, very video and image based. But it's super simple. Like I said, it helps us optimize to speed and helps us stand out in this B2B sea of content that's usually focused on self-promotion or webinars or hot takes. And maybe the biggest vouch that I've seen recently is that someone told us that they love how HubSpot is making LinkedIn feel like the heyday of fun on Twitter. And I'm obsessed with that.
HubSpot's LinkedIn, for everyone who's watching this and, you know, watching the replay, HubSpot's LinkedIn is fire, especially for like exactly how you described it, that audience of decision makers, the, you know, elder millennials who are, elder Gen Z and early millennials who are using HubSpot or considering, you know, marketing automation platforms. I think it's been written in a bunch of different like trade press. I've seen comments about it. And I think you all do a really nice job of balancing that relevance with also balancing sort of, you know, communicating about the product and the benefits. LinkedIn is a channel, you know, we love at Vayner, and even things like Halloween, like people are talking about LinkedIn. People are talking about Halloween campaigns, costumes, etc. We're live streaming this on LinkedIn right now. So the whole thing is very meta. Amy, I can't believe we're already at time here, but thank you so much for joining us on Marketing for the Now, for sharing a bit about your brand platform, a bit about your Halloween viral posts, and also a little bit about your LinkedIn strategy, which we need to go deeper into on a future episode.
I would love to. Some of my favorite Halloween content is showing up on LinkedIn. So you are not wrong, Avery. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Amazing. All right. Thank you, Amy. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in for an extra special Halloween episode where we heard from incredible leaders from Opendoor to Jimmy John's to Bailey's to HubSpot. We heard from Matt Cocktails. We heard from Moonpay. Just an incredible, really fun episode. And of course, can't forget our friends at Fiverr. Really cool episode. Let us know if you like this kind of a format, if you think this is interesting to dive into a specific cultural moment. And big shout out to Jolly Jacko for showing up not once, but twice for a little cameo. So hope you all have a wonderful day. Let us know what you thought in the comments and catch you next time, Marketing for the Now.